Welcome to Southampton user group, and I will go on mute now.
Okay. So this talk is actually 4 hours talk, which we don't have that much time. So I try to be not take that much time today, but the AI part, which is not only in Fabric, but Microsoft, as you know, puts it everywhere. So not only in a product like data platform, which is Microsoft Fabric, but also into browser, into Microsoft Word, Excel, and so on, even in PowerPoint. And with Fabric, the story is a bit different because now we have data platform. And we used to work with data platforms, and I have worked with data platforms for many years, and I also do it now. So we can say that Fabric is really nothing new. It's like a collection of services, which usually we have to build on our own or connect on our own. And here we have ready-to-use platform. So we don't have to really configure it that much. We just can use it, start using it. And that's the main benefit here. And the reason behind Fabric is not, it's not all only to make sure that the configuration of the platform is easier, because you just turn it on and you can start using it immediately. And of course, you have to pay. So that's a good solution when you do not have a very much custom configuration. If you still have a lot of your custom needs that you have to add to the product, like for example, you have some specific network connections or things like this, then Fabric might not be a good solution for you. But for most projects, it will be. But there is more than this. It's not only, as I said, about the easier configuration, but and this is the only marketing slide I have. There will be nothing more than this. There was an idea behind which Microsoft has for many, many years, that let's bring data closer to people. Because, so far, and I'm happy about that as a data engineer or data analyst, I can do some magic stuff with data, and we can do that. But the thing is that, I see numbers, I know how to transform them, I know how to use the tools and really build something useful. But at the end, there is the user, and the user, the business people, they have to understand what we deliver, and they may see things a little bit differently. So the idea behind Fabric is also to bring everyone into the platform, really everyone. So we have one place where we can meet data engineers, data analysts, we can meet also business people, data scientists, and we can start collaborating and see the results and see the power of collaboration, which means see the results faster. And that's very interesting, and I hope it's going to be still done this way. So the future evolution of this platform will bring more and more business people into it. But there is, however, a problem. So if you think about a very classical implementation of data platform, where we have a lot of scripts, SQL scripts, Python notebooks, we build warehouse, we build semantic model, that sounds very ugly for business people. They would like to see information. So we transform data into information, and they would like to interact with this at that part. But the interaction has to be done by using their language. So business people would like to communicate, would like to have the interaction with the data, let's call it this way, with their language, how they speak, how they talk. And this is where AI comes into stage. And I, as a data engineer and data analyst, I'd like to talk to my data with my language. My language is code. So I'd like to have the intelligent some intelligent conversation, and I would like to see the code which is generated. So the AI has to understand that there are people with different skill sets, and it has to be able to find, let's say this way, who is talking, right? And what are the person needs. I have one more slide, and that's actually not marketing. That's actually a slide which was generated somewhere I think in March last year or May. Yeah, March last year. And each of the icon here is like a tool that you can take, and by combination of those tools, you can build your own data platform. But we imagine that could be tough, right? Because you can take something from Microsoft, you can take something from SAP, you can take something from some other companies, and you still are able to build something very useful. The thing is that you spend time building it, not delivering the value. And I'm not saying that this is wrong, because you may have a scenario when that will be the only way how you at some point deliver value. But most of the time we don't have to get into this. That's official slide from Machine Learning, Artificial Intelligence and Data Landscape from 2024. So now a quick look into Fabric. As I said, Fabric has all the components we usually have in all data platform projects. And that's good. Being a data architect is a beautiful thing, because 95% of projects, they will have all the components you can see on the screen. You can say, okay, I have to do a data integration. I cannot imagine a project without that, right? So this part will always be here. I have to do some data transformation, data cleaning, and so on and so on. So I can play with that here, or I can be, if I'm Python developer, I can do it on the warehouse side. Maybe right now, I don't see the need to have real-time analytics, but believe me, Microsoft will change your mind, because they are working very hard to convince people to use real-time analytics. And by the way, if you go into Microsoft documentation about real-time analytics and the definition, what is real-time, you can be surprised. And I'm not. You have to check it on your own. It will be a surprise for you, because real-time analytics has nothing to do with time. Believe me, go and read about that. It has a very deep meaning, and I agree with the definition. But the real time really has nothing to do with time. So we can say, okay, I don't have this, and maybe I don't need that. That's a really new service which has not been present in the, let's say, in the Azure platform in a form that we think it should be. So maybe I don't also have data science, right? Not every project is data science project, but I always will have that part, probably one of those, and I have to show data somewhere. So look, I have 7 or 8 components, and I quickly can take 4 or 5 of them, and 95% of project will have them always. That's our job is beautiful, right? We can very easily be experts. The really game changer is this one. So we have one unified lake, which is like the storage. So the beautiful idea is that you can start working here, you materialize your data in a lake in some common format, and next step of your transformation can be done with this engine. And you materialize data again here, and then you can connect it like this. And the beautiful part is not only that it is really unified, and we can have like a unified also security model, which is not yet working as it should. But the beautiful thing is behind that is that first time in history, at least I remember it this way, Microsoft has not invented something, but they just found that almost all of us know what is Parquet, what is Iceberg. And the idea is that if you use the format that 95% of architects or developers, what they use, this could be really a game changer, because you don't have to convince people to start using something new. You just tell them that this platform uses the same format as main competitors, as Snowflake, as Databricks, and others. And what really Microsoft thinks is that if you have your project and your engine, processing engine like this one or this one, let's say in Databricks, you don't have to migrate, or even the ETL, you don't have to migrate it to Fabric. Let it be in Databricks. Just connect with this part natively, because Parquet format is the same everywhere. And this will be one of the main thing that Microsoft is going to show in upcoming maybe weeks. How to quickly integrate natively with Databricks storage, so on the storage level with Databricks and the Snowflake. Okay, the last slide. I already told that there are people with different skill sets, so they will use different part of the platform. It's still one platform. We have different ways how to interact with the components. So from the decision maker perspective, I would use Power BI, because this is where I see my data, so I can play with the data, have interaction. As a data engineer, so far from business, really far from business, I'm going to use data factory, so the integration part, and maybe engineering, so Lakehouse, SQL, and maybe Python. And those are two things I'd like to spend the entire rest of the presentation on, those two things. And I start from pretending that I am a decision maker person, which usually I'm not. But I'd like to show this part to the customer. And last week I really did a presentation for company in Sweden. They measure noise, vibration, noise in many places in Stockholm and other big cities in Sweden. So they have a lot of IoT devices, and I just show them that, look, we can plug the devices through the real-time analytics component, and you can have a report, and you can really interact with the data by using AI, so the Copilot. I have one file, which we are going to look into it in the first part of the demo. This file is called sales. As you see, this is a CSV file. So, and this file is contains information. Maybe I will show you it already in the tabular format. So I loaded the file to the platform, and I make a table from it. And so I have a bunch of columns here. And the file is great because it's prepared for demo. So what I'm going to show you is that this file has information about some budget. So we have information about budget. We have products. The product is actually a coffee. We have information about some market. So where the coffee is sold, in what region, and maybe state. So from one point of view, we have budget, and the other part, we have really information about how we spend the money. So we have information about the sales, and it's in one file. So I already loaded the file. I have a table, and right now I would like to create a report. So in if we start thinking about modern analytics, we know that behind the scenes there is so-called semantic model, which is created for us in Fabric. Of course, we can create many other models, but that's the default one. And the default one, it has just this one table. And right now, I'm going to pretend at the time the decision-making person. So some data engineer and maybe analyst, they have prepared some data for me. I have no clue how to, and no idea how to interact, how to write DAX queries, Python code, and so on. But I know how to prepare a report. So, there are some ways how to do it. And the auto-create report is a good way, but you can also find some correlations in the data, which makes really no sense. Paginated report is not the best way to start. And the only useful option is create a blank report. And from the decision-making person, that's the scariest part, because you have really no idea what to do. You have development environment where usually Power BI developers start to work. The only thing we have to do is to turn on the Copilot right now. You see now we cannot see anything. So I make the screen a little bit bigger. That's the data set that we have. And I'm starting the Copilot. There is a new version of it. Let's see how the old one works. We can be surprised that it's working not that beautifully as usual, but let's see. So, if I don't know how to start, I can always rely on what the Copilot wants to tell me. So I'd like to have some suggestions about some new reports. So the idea here is that imagine that I am CEO or some very important business person, maybe vice president. I'd like to create some useful information based on my data. So maybe I can start, from performance, something like this. Let's create a content. And what is really going on right now? So from the development perspective, there will be a report which is created. Hopefully it's going to be created soon for us because the data set is not really big. And we should see that Copilot, based on analysis on our data set, it's going to create content. So the perspective right now that we have is that some content has been generated for us. And, I have not even started the conversation with Copilot with my business language. I've just taken something which was there by default. And of course, we would have to start analysis of what we have here. That's some information about the state performance. Create a page to analyze sales, profit, and expenses by state. Of course, we can try to play a little bit with some other suggestions, but I have some other ideas here about what we can do. So, I'm not going to type anything. I'm just doing copy and paste, because if I start typing, then this session would really be 4 hours. So my question to Copilot right now is create a page that analyzes performance of sales by product and type. So I'm going to have more and more content. Because I'm a business user, the Copilot can see only my data, my organizational data, the data that I have loaded to the workspace. This data is not going to be used to train other Copilots for other companies. This is our private data. But it's not only here, but that's true for all Copilots in Microsoft so far. If you interact with Copilot as a not organization, but as a private person, then your data can be used for learning other models. So be careful with that. So if if you have some family meeting and you would like to have help from Copilot, how people should be seated so they do not fight, Copilot can use this data and learn and help some other people as well. That's what we found in the terms of usage of Copilot. I think it was for Excel or Word. Okay, look, we have another content here. So that's the sales performance. So we have sum of cost of goods sold, total expenses, and so on. The numbers are not important right now because that's only the demo. I'd like to ask 2 more questions here because I need to have some data to provide you something else, to show you something else. So I have another question about create another page, like create a page to compare the revenue. And you see I did some spellings, some spelling mistake. It should be forecast versus actual. It's forecast versus actual. It's on purpose. I just wanted to make sure that this language model also understands my intent, my intention, what I really would like to have. And this question is really not trivial because I'm asking about forecast versus actual. And Copilot has to be smart enough to understand that I'm talking about budget and sales. So budget is the forecast and actual is sales. And my data does not have anything related to, there is no name like forecast, but there is a name like budget. So it was able to understand what I really want to have. And my findings from the demo with customer, where we have tons of gigabyte of data, that the most important thing or ability or what we all have to learn is the prompting part, how to ask the right questions. And we have to be really very precise. So that's the thing we all have to do. And I'm trying to learn how to be a better prompter, prompt engineer. That's my next title I'm going to have. Otherwise, the conversation might not be that efficient. So, now I have created another page with some data. And now my last question, before I jump into more business work here, is a question like this. What is the market with the lowest sales? So this is a question about data. So it's not like create something for me or generate something for me. It's rather analyze the data and find something in the data. And you see we have information that there is really some market which has lowest sales. And I have a link here where the information can be found. So you can now imagine that you start having the interaction with your during a meeting, and you can start asking the questions. The problem is that when we let's say deploy the report, so make an application from it, the Copilot is not available like this. So we have to fix this approach and do it in a little bit different way. So what I would do, I would create a new page. And in the new page, and this is something we have to tell the business people, that there is a component which is called narrative, which is, I make it a little bit bigger, and I even make a bigger font so we all can see, but I have to turn on Copilot. And now I should be able to, I create a bigger font for us. And look, what I have to decide is what data should be analyzed. So I'd like to analyze all my data. Okay, once again, entire report, right? And now I would like to ask some question, and we can have some summary, but of course, we can type the question we want. But there is one beautiful question I like the most. Answer likely question from leadership. That's beautiful part. So what's the most likely question my supervisor or my boss is going to ask me about my data? And now in a few moments, we should be able to see, hopefully, information about that. Let's wait for a moment. So I have a few moments to, or a few seconds to drink a coffee. You know, I'm working on some trial version for MVP, so I'm not sure how quickly the Copilot, sometimes it's quicker, sometimes it's a little bit slower. It's almost 9 p.m. here. It's almost 4 p.m. or 3 p.m. in United States. So, and the infrastructure, this part is in States. So it could be that it's going to take longer than I want. So maybe we can wait a few seconds. If there are some questions, Mike, you can have a look so I can answer. If not, I will proceed with some other part. Oh, it's creating stuff for us right now, so we have to wait for a second. So it's slow and slow and slow. Maybe I just added too much. You know, maybe I can take only the revenue here. And based on this update, and let's see, this should be faster because there is only one page to analyze. And you see we have the information pretty quickly. And look, some of this is pretty easy to find. So we really have answer to this question is easy to find in the report. But some of those links can be calculated, and I'm trying to find one, but probably I will not be able to quickly find. Sometimes we have information that what I wanted to have answer to my question required to perform some intelligent calculation, like generating a new measure behind the scenes, like contextual measure, and create the result for me. Because behind the scenes, you can imagine that some DAX statements are really generated. So I will do, I will switch to one more thing, like create a bulleted list of insights. This could be also helpful and should work pretty fast, because here there might be the measure which I want to show you. So maybe it's already there. So that's the thing. Actual. No, we don't have luck today. Budget over sales. So the information, the entire information is already on the report. But we have beautiful key points and key information found that were found in the report. And you know, we can have the more and more interaction, and that's what I really like to do. And that's what I do. This is how I work most of the time. When I sit with customer and try to get into their data. So we have like more and more detailed questions, like, for example, find me something like, find insights about amaretto products. Amaretto is type of coffee. So can you find this for me in my data? And you know, sometimes Copilot says, okay, I can't because you have not created content yet about this. So I probably would have to create a report which is more related into product first, because I have not created it yet, right? And so on and so on. This could be the interaction. And this is how we can, as a business person, how I can get insights from my data. So I was pretending that I have absolutely no skills in writing queries, but I have generated some useful insights. And that was the first part of this story. And now we have to go. Okay, I saved the report. Let's call it here. Maybe I am, yeah, demo. It's 22nd. Now I will pretend to be in a different role. And this is really the toughest role in every project that we can have, because I will pretend to be a data engineer that have to create some ETL process. You know, I could open really the ADF, so the data factory here. But so far I have a connection to database. That's live connection because you see I'm refreshing the information. And you know, from the perspective of ETL engineer, what I'd like to do is I like to prepare the ETL again without having to create the transformations. So without having to write a code, just by having the conversation with Copilot. So I started Copilot here. And, you know, I will be instructing what I'd like to achieve. And Copilot has to generate code, like we will be able to see steps here. But also we can go to the code part of this tool, and we actually will see the M code, which is generated for us. So of course, let's start from something very easy. You know, this is AdventureWorks database, the smaller version of it. So it has only like maybe 9 or 10 tables. In this table, I have a column which is called row GUID, this one, and I don't want this column to be present. You know, and because I'm lazy, you know, what I could do is I could, of course, do it this way. So remove the column just by using the graphical interface, but I promise to use Copilot. So I can do it this way, that I'm typing my question or my intention, what I'd like to do. Remove the row GUID column. And you know what I think Microsoft did wrong is that the publish button, usually we know that it's somewhere in the upper menu. Right now it's on the bottom, and I press it all the time. Instead of the arrow, I press the publish button. I hope it's not going to happen today. So look, new step has been generated here for me, and the row GUID button and the row GUID column is gone. And there should be somewhere the advanced query editor. And look, that's the M query part, which was generated by using my instruction. So I didn't have to type it. I don't know how to do it. I was just instructing the Copilot what should be generated for me. I can do something more. For example, I can tell, let's merge the two tables together. Can you merge the queries on product ID column and create new query? I have no idea what's going to happen, but I imagine that there should be a kind of merge operation. Oh, sorry, I can't do that. It can happen. And the reason for it is that the relationship is already found. Because you see, I already have the relationship to my other table, so there is no need to do it. But what I can do is, you know, we have here, I'm just going to show you some other statements, and we should be able to play a little bit with the data. And at the end, in a moment, I'm going to generate some useful thing for us. You know, in my table, there should be there is a product which does not have a category. So I have a product, and usually each product should be assigned to a category, but maybe there is really no, there is a product that does not have a category. So I'd like to remove the product then. So remove product without categories. That's a little bit more complex than the previous statement, but I have a filter information. And if we look into mQuery, it says remove the product that were product category, or just leave wherever the product category is not null. Let's remove data where size is equal to S. So let's pretend that size, which is equal to S, should be gone based on my instruction. right? So you see, I can do the transformation, which sometimes can be painful, and I can make it pretty quickly. So the ETL, the ET, the transformation part, I can design it right now in some easier way. I'm not saying we are going to simplify all possible transformations, or maybe not that easy, and probably, again, prompting will be the key to the success, how Copilot understands and interprets my intention and your intentions as well. Okay, now let's do something else. I have a column which is called color somewhere in the in the data set. Oh, here. So you see, I have my products in different colors. And what I'd like to do, I'd like to create a histogram of colors. So I'd like to know how many products are black, how many products are red, and so on and so on. So we can imagine, you should be able to picture a query about that. The query would be like select color, comma, count from this table group by color. So something like this. That's the equivalent of this query. But what's going to happen is right now, the shape of the table is going to change. Because look, right now, I'm not interested in many other columns. I just want to have color and information, how many distinct products is there. And that's actually the query that I had in my mind. And I can start building more and more sophisticated transformation, and that's almost the last one. So I'm right now saying calculate maximum and minimum list price for each color. So I'm changing shape of this, again, of this table by saying I'd like to know, oh, okay, almost more maybe the problem is that this column is already gone. I'm not going to check that. But the idea is that I can rephrase, I can change my transformations and should have the desired result. The last query I wanted to have is really something which should make you thinking that Copilot is not only a tool that can operate on your data that you already have in your data set. Something is missing here. I have table product and product category, but we all know that if you build intelligent analytics, you have to have a timetable. And I would like to have a very specific timetable because I'd like to have a new table with holidays in United States that are from 2020 to, let's say, 2035. There should be a column which is called holiday and date. This information is not present in my data set at all. So somehow, Copilot has to get this information outside our environment and generate the query for me. Let's see how it's going to work. So there should be a new query written for us, a new query like a new table here, virtual table, with two columns where we have a holiday and a date. And of course, we can have a look that up to 35, we have New Year's, we have Independence Day, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. And those days are present in our table. So you see, it's not only about the transformations, it's also about enriching the data set with the data that we might not have in our solution. Of course, this knowledge is public, so it's not something Copilot has to think about it, but it was able, as a tool, it was able to get somewhere and get this information for us. That was almost the last part, and the very last part is we have to jump back into our lakehouse, because in a moment I will be pretending that I am data engineer and I'm going to do some Python queries. And but before I go there, that's my lakehouse, I'd like to create something more. I was telling you that the beautiful idea behind Fabric is that, do I have it somewhere? Is that Microsoft, they really do not invent something new, but they say that if you use Parquet, so for example, like Databricks, then I can connect to the Parquet files. So you can imagine that I have some transformation and workflow, or maybe entire ETL process done in Databricks. And right now I can connect on the storage level to these files and see them as tables. Let's do this because I need that for interaction for my last demo for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a shortcut. So shortcut is like a pointer to the location where the files are. So I'm not even copying them to my workspace. So the files will be in the source. That gives me a beautiful approach where I can design my system like this, that I have only one version of data, which is on the source, that I'm connecting directly there. So wherever there is a change in the source, I see this change immediately because I'm not copying the data at all. This is called data virtualization, and if you know SQL Server, that's called Polybase. But it cannot be called Polybase in Fabric, so it's called shortcut. Let's create shortcuts. And as you see, we can have a shortcut into Lake, which is the kind of approach how I would design the data platform. So I could have an internal lake where I have some row layer and so on and so on. I can have also connection to lake, data lake. Let me go one step back because, we can go to S3 bucket. We can go to Dataverse. We can go to GCP. And this could be Parquet, this could be CSV, this could be Iceberg to connect to Snowflake and see the data directly from the storage. Because, there is, in Fabric, there is also a feature which is called mirroring. So you can also, for example, mirror Snowflake data in real time. But, if you do it in real time as a mirroring, then you have to pay for Snowflake, which has to run and replicate the transaction to Fabric. If you connect on the storage level, Snowflake does not have to work because you connect on the storage level. It's cheaper. Let's go this way. I'm selecting a connection. I'm not pretending that I'm setting it up. I guess you set connection to a lake, so you have to know the address and you have to know the key. And that's what I've done. So I'm connecting to my data lake, and I'd like to have this. That's the place where I have Parquet files, and I'm connecting actually to that folder, which is called Delta. It will be called Delta also on my side. Because this is Parquet, so I should be able to see this part, hopefully refresh, and we should be able to see a virtual table. This is going to disappear in a moment. That's like a UI problem. But I can see a virtual table. The files are somewhere else. They are in my other subscription on some other engine. But I can connect, because this is Parquet, I can connect and virtualize it as a table. So I can query it in a moment. The first connection is pretty slow, but we should be able to see some data in a moment. I'm not going to wait. Oh, now we see it. Because I have a notebook here, because what I'd like to do is I'd like to play with this table, with this virtual table, and pretend that I'm right as a data engineer. I will be using my Copilot right now to play with that data that I have in my delta table, which I loaded, I virtualized a second ago. I just have to refresh it here. And the thing that, so that's the virtualized table. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to query the table. And the idea is that right now I try to play with Copilot, which should be somewhere here in a moment, because right now I'm activating it. And once this is done, I hope it's still running here. I will be able to play with Copilot and, ask some questions. I already asked some questions before before our session. And, I'm going to, that's I created a data frame. It's jumping up and down because, here are some cells which we cannot see. So it's activating the Copilot. So it's behind the scenes, there are a lot of logs which are invisible, but sometimes it's bumping up and down. Hopefully it's going to stop in a moment. But I created a data frame just by loading 1,000 rows from this delta table. And how I wanted to start playing with that is my question was, create a temporary view that calculates maximum of total price for each customer key from my table. And my surprise today, I did that last month. And last month, I really had a view like create temporary view, select, group by, and so on. And today, it generated a measure. And I can have access to this, but this is a DAX query. And the reason for it is that, behind the scenes, there is a functionality which is called semantic link. So if you have data frame, you can start playing with DAX queries. So instead of creating a view, Copilot says that in that case, it's easier to create a DAX query for me. But I was so surprised, so I told him, look, make it SQL. And that's the query that I really wanted to see. And I'm going to copy the query here so you can see how it is really how it's really done, right? So it should be SQL. Can I change it? Yeah, I can change it. Not sure. Sometimes it's like this. Now it's fine, SQL. But why it's still red? Not sure. Now maybe we can see what's going on here. But you see, create or replace temp view. That was my intention. That this is what I wanted to have. I didn't want to have a measure. But for DAX, for Copilot, it was easier to generate. We will see the data in a second. The session is started, so we should be able to see this 1,000 rows. We have it here. And I'd like to show you my story, which I'm usually showing here. The story that I'd like to do is, that's a table which is prepared in a source system. Remember, that's Parquet files, which I'm virtualizing right now. So I don't have the data here in my lake. If you see, that's the data. I have a key, order key, I have customer key, I have order status, price. But so it looks like a pretty much very good candidate for a fact table. But I also have a column which is called order priority. And this looks like a dimension. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to create a dimension table right now and make sure that Copilot can create it for me. So, I wanted to, first of all, play a little bit with data types. So to tell Copilot, look, there is, because everything you see here is text. So the data types were not properly understood so far. So I'm telling change the total price to numeric and order date to date in my data frame. So we should be able to quickly see this information. That would be my first thing. So playing a little bit with my data. And I don't want to have any explanation. I just want to have the code and analyze maybe the code in my notebook. So pretty much what I would do, right? So I have my data frame. I'm changing the data type to something, let's say something more proper in that case. Everything is fine. But now I have to start playing with this order priority column. So what I'd like to do is I would like to create a new data frame. So here's my question. Create a data frame called order priority containing distinct values on the order priority column from df. df is my data frame that I have here, right? That's my data frame. So let's see whether this could be done. Because what I'd like to have is I'd like to have a new data frame which will contain, let's see how this works. So I should have order priority. That's my data frame. But I'm missing something right now, because if this is a separate data frame, so I treat it as dimension, I need to have a dimension key. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to generate a column which will be treated as a key. So generate a column that is a key in the order priority data frame. So let's have a key here. So my order priority data frame should be right now, should have another column, second column, which will be acting as a key. Okay, let's see how it goes. Looks good. But I have to start it, of course. And I maybe, if this is done, okay, let's have another column, another cell, because I'd like to show you how the data frame looks like now. So what I have right now is I have my order priority and the key. So what should happen now is that, let me show you the my initial data frame. So what I'd like to do now is I'd like to replace the order priority column where I have text with the key. So I'd like to, change the column, text column, to some integer column. And this is what I would do with all the columns. But I'm just talking to Copilot. I'm not coding actually. So let's see if this is something that can be done. So my last statement is replace order priority column in data frame with key column from order priority and save in data frame called new data frame. I hope this is going to work correctly. If yes, then I created pretty much a lot of code without actually doing the code. So I have new data frame, which is called new df, and maybe I will be able to show it to you like this. So instead of this column, which was called order priority, with the text, right now I will have the key value and a separate table which will act as a dimension. So then I can say that, look, now I can create the foreign key, right? So primary key, foreign key relationship, and I can create my dimensional model. So I can do it like this. So let's see whether really my new DF has the information that I wanted. And that's really the last part that I wanted to show you. But the thing that started to scare me a little bit, this column should be removed. I don't know, maybe I have not, this column should be removed, but that's the key column that I have, order priority. That's the key. So instead of having text, right now I have a key, and I can start treating this table, this data frame, as a fact table. And you know, the thing that's starting to bother me a little bit is that, you know, I've been in this business for 20 something years. So I don't have to spend much time verifying whether this code is okay or not. But I can imagine a situation when we have juniors or people that really start playing with this and they start using the code without kind of verification. And this is something that is really or can be a problem in some perspective, because this approach really, as you see, speed up my work dramatically. But I am able to justify whether what I see is correct or not, or I can quickly write a test. But are we sure that people that start to be a data engineer, and we can imagine their journey to data engineering will be through Copilot, how they will be able to grow in the future without having the basics that we all have? Because we were grown where Copilot was not present, and we really have to have this knowledge. So that's something that bothers me, and I don't know the answer how it's going to be in the future. I'm happy that I have the knowledge, and most of us have the knowledge, the basics. We can interpret the values. We understand the code, and we can say whether it's okay or not. Because the code is generated, the quality of the code is also proportional to the quality of my question. So this could be something that again we have to be a very good prompt engineers. And that's it. This is how Fabric and the Copilot helps you in daily work, depending on your role. The thing which is not yet done, which Microsoft somehow tries to do, but that's complex. Means that I was really showing you at least 3 different Copilots during this session, because this is not the same one object or one instance of Copilot. So Power BI has its own Copilot. Here we have Spark, it has its own Copilot. ADF has another. And in Lakehouse, when you start typing SQL queries, there is another Copilot. Because, it's not because they did it this way because it was easier, but we have to go back to the origin, how Fabric started. So Fabric started from different components that were glued together to build a platform. Each of the component has its own Copilot, and they still have it this way. So far I know that they as Microsoft, they work to have one unified Copilot. Because the idea is that when I was starting to playing as a business person, and then I switched the context to, for example, to Spark. So my question would be, look, a minute ago I was a business person, now I am here. Show me everything I've done as a business person. Show me the code that is behind the report, behind the visual elements. What have you generated? Because I'd like to see it. And that's the next step that we should expect, which will be a huge thing. That will be absolutely mind-blowing thing. But it's not that easy to achieve, but that's the future we should expect pretty much soon. So the future is bright. We should be able to find our place in the Fabric platform. It should help us in creating the value, the analytics, whatever we do. we should be able to do it faster with less work, and make sure and ensure us that the whatever we deliver, it has a good quality, and we can deliver the value faster than others. And that's it. Thank you very much for having me here. If there are questions, I'm happy to answer right now.